Okay, we are on the scene of an officer-involved shooting in the 200 block of Union. At around 10 o'clock this morning, we received a call to this location for shots fired that had been fired within the building at an apartment. As the officers inspected, they determined that the ballistic evidence indicated that it came from within an apartment. The officers, with the assistance of fire alarm, breached the door, at which time the officers entered the apartment, and there was an armed suspect there who refused to put his weapon down after the officers made commands. There was an exchange of gunfire. The officers exited the building and called for assistance. The suspect was later determined to be deceased. A AR-15 rifle and a pistol have been recovered. And that's where we are right now. The Force Investigative Unit is here investigating the scene. Our crew units with our social workers are talking to the family. But again, we're here in the 200 block of Union. We got a call around 10 o'clock for shots fired. All the indications indicated, the ballistic evidence indicated where the apartment from which the shots came. The officers needed the assistance of fire alarm to breach the door. They breached the door. As soon as they entered, they confronted a suspect who was armed. The officers gave commands to drop the weapon. There was an exchange of gunfire. The officers exited the building and, of course, called for assistance. And the suspect has been since pronounced deceased. He's a white male that's approximately 39 years old. Again, there was a pistol recovered as well as a AR-15 rifle. Our crew unit with our social workers are here talking to the family, and the Force Investigative Unit is investigating the incident.
Chief, did the suspect fire at the officers using the AR-15 or the pistol?
Yeah, all of that's going to have to be a part of the investigation. We're not at that point to where we have determined that yet.
And was there anyone else in the apartment or just the suspect?
To our knowledge, there was no one else in the apartment, and we did have to evacuate both the above, the floor immediate below and immediately above the apartment, just for safety purposes.
Any indication of why he fired the original shots? We heard there was a volley of about 9 shots around 10:45 or so.
Yeah, unknown at this time exactly the motive for any of these shots fired, and so that'll be part of the investigation that we'll be trying to determine.
So did they see bullets out in the hallway then? Is that how they determined that there were, I mean, you said ballistic evidence.
Ballistic evidence, yeah. The extent of it, I think, will be a part of the investigation, but there was ballistic evidence in the hallway indicating where the shots had come from.
Were the officers in the apartment or in the hallway when they traded shots with the suspect?
They had actually entered the apartment when the exchange of fire occurred. And I did not mention that no officers are injured as a part of this incident.
Any idea where those original shots were fired, what he was shooting at, or just randomly shooting in his apartment, or?
Yeah, undetermined at this point. Again, that'll be, those types of questions will be answered as the investigation unfolds.
Can you tell us anything about this suspect? I mean, it's highly unusual to get involved in this sort of incident. Any background on him? Has he ever been arrested for anything?
Not at this point. We'll again, an extensive background check will be conducted, and we'll determine the background of the suspect.
So are we to understand that the officers then left the apartment, shut it, and then that's what the delay was after the fact, is figuring out whether he was dead or not?
Yes, so as a part of the investigation, we had to call additional resources because the scene was still insecure.
All right, just once more, the moment of truth when the officers did their due diligence to tell them we're police, drop the gun. How did that all come down? Just kind of choreograph that for us. What happened?
Well, I can't be very specific as I was not standing there, but it is what I understand to be reported to me at this point is that once the officers entered the apartment is when they confronted an armed suspect who was armed, and they had advised the suspect to drop the weapon. He refused to do so. There was a exchange of gunfire at that point in time, and naturally officers exited the building and called for additional resources.
And they were uniformed police officers?
Yes, they were uniformed police officers.
So he could see they were cops?
Yes, they were uniformed police officers.
How many about officers went initially?
There were 3 to 4 officers that initially entered the apartment.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.